Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I'm going to be talking about Keyforge and the question, will Keyforge ever be as commercially successful as Magic the Gathering? All right, so here's my opinion on that question, on whether Keyforge will ever be as commercially successful as Magic the Gathering. The answer is no. Keyforge is never going to be as commercially successful as Magic the Gathering. And here's why. Okay, so Keyforge really is a fantastic game. I absolutely love the game. Of course, I also really like Magic the Gathering. I've been playing both of these games from the very beginning. And here's why Keyforge is never going to be as commercially successful as Magic the Gathering. All right, so it is the structure of the unique deck versus the structure of the collectible card game. So, so Magic the Gathering is a collectible card game. And essentially what you're doing is, so if I go in on Friday Night Magic, which I've done many, many times, I still do that frequently. I go pretty much every week. So if I go in on Friday Night Magic, this recently happened. I saw a fantastic elf deck. It's straight green. It's all elves. It's got an elf king in there, you know, and it's very strong. It's fast. It's got mana helpers. It's got big heavy hitters. It can put counters on different creatures, right? So I saw somebody playing a near perfect elf deck in standard, right, on Friday Night Magic. Well, if I decided to, you know, I make a good living, I could just buy that deck. I can have it, you know, I could just go home so I play Friday night, I go home on Saturday night, I hit Star City, I already have half the cards because I play regularly, and I just order the other half, and I can literally bring to the table the exact same deck that my opponent played against me the last week, right? And how can I have his deck? You know, if he only plays me, I can, you know, walk over and watch the remainder of his game. There's nothing that stops me. I can copy his deck. I can just buy it, right? Buy it outright, right? And so this is a huge driver for Magic the Gathering, because not only does it happen exactly like that, where people will go to Friday Night Magic, see a deck, copy the deck that they saw, or they'll just go on and get a net deck. They'll get a deck that won the last Grand Prix, or they will get beat by a deck and then say, you know, at Friday Night Magic, I don't care if I beat anybody at Friday Night Magic. I just want to beat this one opponent, so I'm going to build my entire deck around beating that one deck. And, you know, if we're paired together, which often in FNM you will be paired together, especially, you know, if you're in a main competitor, you're in the similar competing brackets, you will get you can order cards individually to build a deck that will either snipe another deck, you know, actually take advantage of its weaknesses. You could build a deck that will specifically copy somebody else's deck at FNM. Or you can build a deck that will specifically, that won the latest Grand Prix, which has an overall strong probability of winning, right? So these are powerful. These are very, what's the right word? Oh yeah, these are powerful incentives to buy cards, right? Now, I can hear you saying already, well, that's just people buying on the secondary market. How's that help Wizards of the Coast? Well, absolutely helps Wizards of the Coast, because the reality is it incents people to buy the packs at pre-release and at release, so that they'll have cards that will go up in value, right? And here's the thing, Keyforge does not, you know, so Magic the Gathering highly incents people to buy packs and packs and packs of the game, even boxes or even cases. And I know people who do all three. I know people who buy packs. I know people who buy boxes. I know people who buy packs. I know people who gather their money together and buy boxes together. I know people who buy boxes by themselves. I know people who gather together and buy cases together. And I know people who buy cases by themselves, right? Not shops, right? And so, you know, that really incents people to buy cards and buy them frequently. Keyforge does not have this issue, right? So basically, when you buy a Keyforge deck, you have the complete deck. It's a balanced deck, right? And you have a chance at beating somebody else with that deck, because the algorithm that programmatically generates these decks, they're usually not that far in power from each other, right? There's less of a range, right? Whereas within Magic the Gathering, The range can be, you know, from an absolutely terrible trash deck. Here's another one. Oh boy, I never even thought about that. Wow. Yeah, so there's just so many things that incent people to buy Magic the Gathering cards, that ability to customize and build decks. Whereas with Keyforge, you buy a balanced deck, and those decks are good, and you can play against people, right? Now, if you buy another deck and you get a better deck, you're not going to use your other deck that often. You can keep it in your collection, or you can give it away, right? And here's the kicker, right? When you give away in Magic, when you have cards you don't like, you can sell them or trade them or give them away, okay? And you can still build other decks, right? But with Keyforge, you give the whole deck away. And when you give that deck away, that person is pretty much immediately ready to play the game. And that is incredibly powerful. So, and actually, the way Keyforge decks are constructed, right? The fact that they come out of the box ready to play, they're perfect the way they are, they're ready to do its thing. And actually, because they're printed on the back with that unique identifier, you can't take decks apart because it will destroy those decks, right? In value. That's what we think right now. We're not positive that's always going to be the case. But right now we do think that you know, decks are going to be valuable all together. Nobody's going to be stripping decks for parts. That's the idea. That's what we're expecting, okay? All right. So with that structure, Keyforge is a great game to play. It has a very low barrier to entry into getting a deck and actually starting play. And it has a low barrier to entry too, because many, I would even say most Keyforge decks are going to be given away because people have stronger decks, right? So that means you can easily spread Keyforge by just giving your friend a deck that is less powerful, that you don't really like that much, right? And so they could try the game out, and then if they like it, they can buy an additional deck, and when they get a better deck, they'll give their deck away. I really think that's going to be the fate of most Keyforge decks. They're going to be like candles. They're just going to be gifted and regifted and regifted, and it's going to be able to spread the game. Now, the reality is that's fantastic for the community. It's fantastic for gameplay. It is not great for commercial sales, right? So I think Keyforge does have a problem where it has this issue of value, right? If you give somebody, if you let them buy something and they have real value in what you've already bought, they're going to use that thing for a long time. Whereas if you give somebody 6-pack, you can give somebody 10 packs of Magic, right? That is $40 of retail content, and they can have nothing. They can have no viable deck, right? Like that's, you know, and that's pretty sad, you know, I think, right? So the fact that, you know, that the decks that are purchased for Keyforge are so incredibly useful and viable right out of the box means that there's just really way less reason to buy Keyforge, because you're going to get more play. You're going to get more play out of that. You'll get more play out of $10 spent on Keyforge than you probably will get out of $100 spent on Magic the Gathering, right? So that is tremendous for the community, tremendous for the game, right? Not super great for FFG because it's not going to drive sales, okay? I do think that Keyforge is going to be fine. I think Keyforge was built in a way that it really is incredibly complementary to Magic the Gathering. If you play Magic the Gathering and you get frustrated, Keyforge is there to go right over to, right? If you play Keyforge, right, and you learn to play Keyforge well, that will prepare you to play Magic, right? So the thing is, without a doubt, Keyforge is just never going to have that commercial success that Magic the Gathering has, because it's very structured, does not encourage rampant purchases of the product, right? Which is great for the community, but not great for the creator company of Keyforge. I do think Keyforge is going to be commercially successful, but it will never be as commercially successful as Magic the Gathering, right? It's just not going to. The other thing I think that Magic the Gathering has that Keyforge does not have is, not only does it incent people to buy huge, Magic the Gathering incents people to buy huge collections, right? It also there's a lot of incentive Wizards of the Coast is not incenting people into the secondary market, but the value of Magic the Gathering cards absolutely incents people to try their hand at the secondary market, either as small-time resellers, like selling a card here and there at a shop or outside of a shop, or I actually have known several resellers who have literally thousands of cards down in their basement, sit around just watching sitcoms, buy, purchase, resell, and it can be its own business. It's like, people talk about stay-at-home business. You can absolutely have a stay-at-home business with Magic Gathering, doing resells, right? Buying packs and then reselling them online. You have to be good at it, and actually that's just it, is Magic the Gathering can bring you in. You can be terrible at it, and then do it for 6 months to 12 months. You're still buying packs, even if you're not making money. If you're good at it, you can make some beer money. I don't think anybody can make a living doing reselling, but you can absolutely make it a weekend or a weeknight hobby that generates profit, like a side hustle. Magic the Gathering reselling absolutely can be a side hustle. Whereas the structure of Keyforge, I just don't think it's going to be able to have that level of resale value. Whereas, if you buy, because you can't split the decks apart, it just doesn't incent people to enter into competing in the secondary market. So I don't think Keyforge will ever be as commercially successful as Magic the Gathering. And the structure for that is the structure for Keyforge. Better for the Keyforge community, better for Keyforge players, not good for FFG Fantasy Flight Games. It does suppress their profit on the game. That's my take. I would love to hear what you think on this topic. Do you think that Keyforge is never going to be commercially successful as Magic the Gathering, or do you think no, it'll actually surpass it? Let me know in the comments, and please consider liking and subscribing. Thank you.